The potter's hands in a small village nestled between rolling hills and ancient olive groves. There lived a potter named Josiah. His workshop stood at the edge of the town square, where the scent of wet clay mingled with wood smoke and the songs of evening birds. Josiah was known throughout the region not for the speed of his work, but for its extraordinary beauty. Each vessel he created seemed to hold something beyond mere function. They held peace, patience, and a quiet dignity that spoke of careful, loving hands. Unlike other potters who rushed to fill market stalls with dozens of serviceable pots, Josiah worked slowly, intentionally, taking sometimes weeks to complete a single piece. People wondered how he made his living with such an unhurried approach, but those who owned one of Josiah's vessels understood. To hold something made by his hands was to feel calm settle over you like morning dew. One late afternoon, as golden light slanted through the workshop windows, a young apprentice named Thomas arrived at Josiah's door. The boy was thin and trembling, his hands shaking so badly he could barely knock. When Josiah opened the door, he saw immediately what troubled the youth. Thomas carried the weight of perfectionism like chains around his neck. The anxiety of never being good enough, evident in every tight muscle and worried glance. "Master Gosia," Thomas said, his voice cracking. "I have been sent by my father to learn the potter's craft, but I must warn you, everything I touch breaks. My hands shake, my mind races, and I cannot seem to do anything right. I fear I will waste your time in clay." Josiah smiled gently and opened the door wider. "Come in, young Thomas. The clay is patient, and so am I. Let me show you something before we begin." He led the boy to the center of the workshop, where a potter's wheel sat silent and still. Beside it was a large lump of clay, rough and formless, dug fresh from the riverbank that very morning. "Do you know," Josiah asked, settling onto his work stool, "what clay is made of?" Thomas shook his head. "Clay is made of broken things," Josiah said, running his weathered fingers over the earthy mass. "It is stone that has been worn down by water and time, ground into tiny particles, mixed with the remnants of ancient life. It has been broken, crushed, dissolved, and yet, from this brokenness, we create something beautiful. The clay's ability to be shaped comes directly from its willingness to be broken down." He placed the clay at the center of the wheel and began to work the foot pedal, setting the wheel in motion. His hands moved to the spinning clay with a sureness born of decades of practice. "The first thing you must learn, Thomas, is that creation requires patience. Watch." At first, Josiah did nothing but center the clay. Around and around it spun while his hands simply held it, applying gentle, steady pressure. Minutes passed. The clay wobbled and resisted, fighting against the symmetry Josiah was inviting it toward. But his hands never forced, never rushed, never gave up. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, the clay began to yield. The wobbling slowed. The lump found its center. Thomas watched, mesmerized. His own breathing had slowed to match the rhythm of the turning wheel. "You see," Josiah said softly, his eyes never leaving the clay. "The clay cannot center itself. It needs the potter's hands, and the potter cannot force the clay to center. He can only provide steady, patient pressure and wait for the clay to yield. It is a partnership, a dance, a conversation between maker and material." Once the clay was perfectly centered, Josiah pressed his thumb into the middle, creating a small depression. Slowly, carefully, he widened this opening, drawing the walls upward with each rotation of the wheel. A vessel began to emerge, first a bowl, then rising higher into a cylinder, then curving outward into the graceful form of a jar. "Creation happens in stillness," Josiah explained. "My hands move, yes, but they move from a place of inner stillness. If I am anxious, the clay feels it. If I am rushing, the vessel will be unbalanced. If I am harsh, the walls will tear. The clay knows the heart of the potter." Thomas felt tears prickling his eyes. "But Master Josiah, how do you find that stillness?" "My heart is never quiet. My thoughts race like wild horses. How can I ever create anything when I am so full of chaos?" Josiah lifted his hands from the clay, letting the wheels slow to a stop. He wiped his hands on his apron and turned to face the young apprentice fully. "Ah, Thomas. Now we arrive at the true lesson. Come, sit beside me. Thomas sat on a small stool, and Josiah placed his clay-stained hands gently on the boy's trembling ones. Listen carefully, for this is the secret that most potters never learn. The truth that most people never discover. You are not the potter in this story, Thomas. You are the clay. The boy looked confused, but Josiah continued. All your life, you have been trying to shape yourself, to make yourself into something worthy, something perfect, something acceptable. You have been beating yourself for every wobble, every imperfection, every time you don't immediately take the shape you think you should. But clay cannot shape itself. Only the potter can do that. Understanding began to dawn in Thomas's eyes, and with it, fresh tears. There is a master potter, Josiah said, his voice filled with warmth, whose hands are infinitely more skilled than mine. He is shaping you even now, even in this moment of doubt and fear. But like the clay on the wheel, you must yield. You must let go of trying to control your own formation. You must trust the hands that hold you. Josiah stood and walked to a shelf where dozens of finished vessels sat, each one unique, each one beautiful in its own way. He selected a simple cup, its glaze the color of twilight, and brought it back to Thomas. This cup, he said, cracked 3 times during the making. 3 times I had to crush it back into formlessness and begin again. Each time, I thought perhaps this clay was not meant to be a vessel, but I persisted, and the clay yielded. And look now, it is one of my favorite pieces. The struggle became part of its beauty. He turned the cup in his hands, and Thomas could see the subtle variations in the glaze, the slight asymmetry that somehow made it more lovely, not less. The master potter is even more patient with us than I am with clay, Josiah continued. When we crack under pressure, he does not discard us. When we wobble and resist, he does not give up. His hands are steady, even when we are chaotic. His vision for us is clear, even when we cannot see it. Thomas took the cup in his shaking hands, and something in the weight of it, the solidness of it, began to calm his trembling. But how do I yield? He asked. How do I stop fighting? My mind won't quiet. My body won't relax. I try to trust, but the trying itself becomes another form of striving. Josiah smiled, the knowing smile of someone who had asked these same questions many years ago. You yield the same way the clay yields, not all at once, but gradually, moment by moment, rotation by rotation. Each time you notice yourself tensing, you soften. Each time you notice yourself rushing, you breathe. Each time you notice yourself striving, you remember. The potter's hands are already on you. You're already being shaped. Your job is not to do the shaping. Your job is simply to remain on the wheel, to stay in the potter's hands, to trust the process even when you cannot see. The final form, as if to demonstrate, Josiah returned to the wheel and began to work on a new piece of clay. This time, he invited Thomas to place his hands over Josiah's, to feel the movements, the pressure, the patience flowing through the master's touch. Feel that? Josiah asked. I am not gripping. I am not forcing. I am simply present with the clay, guiding it gently toward its purpose. This is how the master potter works with you, not through violence or force, but through steady, loving presence. They worked together in silence for a time, the wheel turning, the clay rising, the afternoon light growing softer and more golden. And slowly, gradually, Thomas felt his own breathing synchronize with the rhythm. His hands stopped shaking. His mind, still active, became less frantic, more observant. There is a verse from the ancient scriptures, Josiah said quietly, that has guided my work for many years. It says, "We are the clay, and you are our potter. We are all formed by your hand." This is not just poetry, Thomas. This is the fundamental truth of existence. We are being shaped every moment of our lives, through joy and sorrow, through success and failure, through rest and struggle. Nothing is wasted. Everything is part of the formation. The vessel on the wheel had taken shape, now a graceful jar with a narrow neck and wide belly, perfect for holding oil or wine. Josiah removed it carefully from the wheel and set it on a board to dry. Now, it must rest, he explained. If I try to glaze it or fire it while it's still wet, it will explode in the kiln. It needs time to become firm, to solidify in its new shape. This too is part of the process, the waiting, the patience, the allowing of time to do its work. He cleaned his hands and turned to Thomas with gentle eyes. You came here today thinking you needed to learn how to make pots. But what you really need to learn is how to be still, how to rest in the potter's hands, how to trust that you are being shaped into exactly what you're meant to become, even when you can't see it yet, even when the process feels uncomfortable, even when you are being pressed and stretched in ways you don't understand. Thomas nodded slowly, something deep within him beginning to settle, like clay finding its center. "Can you teach me that?" he asked. "I can show you," Josiah replied. "But ultimately, you will learn it the same way the clay learns, through surrender, through yielding, through letting go of the illusion that you must shape yourself and accepting the reality that you are already in the hands of the greatest artist who ever existed." As evening settled over the village, Josiah lit oil lamps in the workshop, and the space filled with warm, flickering light. He showed Thomas where to sleep, a simple pallet in the corner of the workshop, covered with clean wool blankets. "Rest now," Josiah said. "Tomorrow we will work with clay, but tonight, practice being clay. Practice softening instead of striving. Practice yielding instead of controlling. Practice trusting that even in sleep, even in rest, even in stillness, you are being shaped by loving hands." Thomas lay down on the pallet, and for the first time in years, he didn't fight sleep. He didn't rehearse tomorrow's worries or replay today's mistakes. Instead, he imagined himself as clay on the wheel, spinning in darkness, held by hands he couldn't see but could trust completely. And as his breathing deepened and sleep began to claim him, he heard Josiah's voice one last time, quiet as a prayer. "May you rest in the potter's hands tonight. May you trust his vision for your life. May you yield to his shaping, knowing that what he creates is always good, always beautiful, always exactly what the world needs. You are being made into a vessel of honor, a carrier of light. Rest in that promise. Rest in those hands. Rest in..." The oil lamps flickered, casting shadows that danced across the walls like potter's hands shaping invisible vessels. And in that sacred space, where creation and rest met, where striving ended and trust began, Thomas finally let go. He let go of the need to be perfect. He let go of the fear of breaking. He let go of the burden of shaping himself. And in that surrender, that yielding, that simple act of trust, he found what he had been seeking all along: peace, deep and lasting, flowing from the potter's hands directly into his waiting soul. Sleep well, beloved clay. Sleep well in the potter's hands.